When you hear the word love, how would you define it? Would you define it as a feeling of strong attraction or emotional attachments to someone? Would you say it's the actions we do to others? Or would you say it's a complex human emotion that no one truly knows? All those are reasonable definitions of love, but that's not what Vinland Saga says about love. And near the end of Season 1 of Vinland Saga, there has been parts where the characters discuss what love truly means, mainly the Norsemen and Askeladd's group asking the priest Willibald what is love. They never knew what it is because in Viking culture, men were expected to show nothing but strength. It was an ongoing topic in the show, but in episode 18 of Season 1 is when the discussion of the meaning of love really hit its peak. It challenges what today's modern society says about love. The way Vinland Saga defines love puts it in a completely different light than anyone has put it in before. Not only can it be applied for the time the anime set in, but also can be applied in today's day and age. To understand how Vinland Saga defines love, we first need to talk and analyze about episode 18 of Season 1 of Vinland Saga. From the beginning to Prince Canut's dream, to the conversation he has with Priest Willibald, and then to Prince Canut's new perspective of the world and his character evolution. Canute is on the floor asleep. He hears Bjorn fighting Thorkel's men, and he has enough of the violence. He doesn't want to wake up. He'd much rather stay asleep forever. This paints a pretty good picture on Prince Canut's character. He is non-confrontational. He much rather ignores the problem rather than do anything about it. He is timid and weak, and with Ragnar gone, he feels like he cannot function on his own. And that is when Canute has a dream of Ragnar. He mistakes this is him coming back from the dead, but then he just realizes it's a dream. Ragnar tells Canute he is here to tell him goodbye, and Canute tells him, "You expect me to live in a world like this, all alone? Do you truly think I can survive?"
You expect me to go on living in a world like this? All alone? Do you truly think I can survive?
And this further pushes the narrative that Canute feels he cannot function in this violent world all alone. He needs Ragnar by his side to help protect him and guide him through it all. Ragnar apologizes to Canute because he raised him as a son and didn't mentor him and raise him to be a Jarl. Canute doesn't care that Ragnar failed on to raise him as a Jarl. He never wanted to have royal blood. He tells Ragnar that he would have been much happier if he was born as Ragnar's son. The two share an embrace, and Ragnar tells Canute, "You filled this old heart with joy, your highness."
My prince, you filled this old heart with joy, your highness.
I feel Ragnar refers to Canute as your highness instead of son or something like that, as to remind him as much as he wishes to be born as a son, he is still the prince and he has a duty to fulfill. He doesn't want Canute to forget that he is royalty and not to run away from that fact. Ragnar tells Canute some things are gained after experiencing a loss. He reminds Canute again he is only a dream and it is time for Canute to awaken. But Canute continues to call out to Ragnar, unwilling to let go. Canute wakes up right in front of Bjorn in a battle against Thorkel's men. I think this is a great way to symbolize Canute waking up from that dream, seeing Ragnar, the one who protected him from the world, who just left for good, then wakes up to the true horrors of the world right in front of him, all the hate and violence just right in front of him. The priest Willibald tells Canute that they're fighting on whoever gets the prince to go over to England. Canute asks him why doesn't he stop them since Willibald is a servant of the Lord, and he tells Canute, "How am I to stop such hate? It is much more sensible to let those who want to die perish." Canute tells Willibald of his dream. He tells them that there's no one left in the world that loves him. He's had this enlightenment. Willibald recognizes this, but he tells Canute that he missed the mark. He asks Canute if Ragnar truly loved him. He brings up the fact that Ragnar watched 62 innocent villagers die for Canute's sake. He asks Canute, "What is love?" Prince Canute is understandably confused about this question. He asks Willibald, if Ragnar didn't have love, then where is the one who can properly display what love is? Willibald tells Canute to look at the corpse, and he says it's far more beautiful now than when he was alive. He claims that death is the embodiment of love itself. He supports this by saying he can no longer hate or hurt or steal from the weak. His remains will keep here until the snow falls, and will be a great bounty for beasts and insects as is. He will be left in the cold rain and bear it all without a single complaint. Death is what truly completes a human being. Let's break this down. I was originally confused by what Willibald was saying when I first watched this, but now I've put together an explanation for this. Willibald is essentially saying that when in death, you show love to everything on this earth. Once you are dead, you will not be able to hate, hurt, or steal. And with your corpse, you feed animals and insects. Then soon, in the final stages of decomposition, you will become compost. You will fertilize the land to show your love to Mother Nature. All these actions are considered acts of love. Canute understands what Willibald is telling him and responds, "So death is the essence of love?" And Willibald affirms. Canute asks another question to Willibald. A parent caring for their child, lovers embracing, or the way Ragnar cared for me as well. What are you saying that feeling is then? Willibald tells Canute that feeling is discrimination, and that Ragnar's feeling towards Canute were one thing alone. discrimination. When I first watched this, I was very confused on how Ragnar felt towards Canute wasn't love, but discrimination, but I understand it now. We may think those feelings were love, but they truly were discrimination. You can say Ragnar had a bias towards Canute. He put him over everything, even himself. Going back to what Willibald said, Ragnar watched as 62 innocent villagers were killed for the sake of Prince Canute. He had a bias for Canute, and he would let anyone die for his sake. I believe Willibald is saying is that you cannot love for one person. Love is absolute. You must love all or you love none. So, letting those villagers die was not love. It was discrimination. And in the earlier episodes when Etlil and Torgrim were asked Willibald if their relationship was love, a relationship of trust and unwavering brotherhood, Willibald told them that was not love. So the relationship can also fall into discrimination as well, just like Ragnar and Canute's relationship. Canute understands this and has an enlightenment. He realizes his surroundings is love. The snow, the sky, the sun, the blowing wind, the trees, the mountains. But this brings him to another realization. He realizes that all of God's creation has love, but the human soul. That is the sole exception. And then, once he has this realization, it shows a hand reaching for an apple from a tree. I assume this means what Willibald tells Canute later about the first sin. The apple symbolizes the first sin of Adam and Eve disobeying God's command, not to eat from the forbidden tree. For that they were exiled from God's paradise, and humans have become more distant and distant until they were so far away from grace. Willibald tells Canute about the first sin, and he does not take it well. Canute has a speech about what was lost in exchange for knowledge. He says that humans will never be able to attain it, but despite that, God still wants people to seek it. After Canute says that, there's a shot of an eaten apple on the wasteland. This is to represent humans' fall from grace after the first sin was committed, introducing sin and suffering to the world. Canute then talks to Bjorn while he's in his rampage, and refers to him as miserable warrior, the one who is the farthest from love, exiled from heaven.
Miserable warrior, the one who's the very farthest from love, exiled from heaven.
In this situation, Ragnar represents the sins and suffering of humanity, far from love and far from heaven. Canute starts to address God directly. He asks if there's any way to end the suffering of his punishment besides death. Canute challenges God's authority, asking if their life purpose is to be tested and endured, and that it will do nothing to save Bjorn's soul. It will do nothing to save the souls of those who are farthest from heaven, the farthest from love. Canute rejects God's salvation, and vows to make a paradise with other people on this earth. This is a huge stepping stone for Canute's character. It marks the beginning of his character evolution as King Canute. Canute is in control now. He starts to act as a prince, as a leader. Canute is able to effectively calm down Bjorn, who just took a berserker mushroom. Something Willibald is shocked by. It is a miracle. Canute was able to bring humanity back into a person who not too long ago was on a rampage killing everyone in his path. The one farthest from love, the one farthest from heaven, was brought closer by Canute. After this extensive analysis of this episode, I feel now we can fully describe what love is in Vinland Saga. Love is absolute. You cannot pick and choose who to love, for that is not love, it is discrimination. The way a parent cares for their child, love is embracing. And the way Ragnar cared for Canute is not love, it is discrimination. It is discrimination because you only show love for one person. You would let anyone die, even yourself, for the sake of that person you love. And that is discrimination. The most true and pure form of love is death. Once you are dead, you can no longer hurt anyone else. Your corpse will serve as food for the wildlife. And finally, in the last stages of decomposition, your corpse will become compost and serve as fertilizer for the land. And during all this, you will never complain. In death, you can show absolute love to everyone and everything. In death, the people you cared for deeply will gain some things after experiencing a loss. Death, in the words of Willibald, is what truly completes a human being. The reason why everything else in the world can show love, like the snow, the sky, the trees, the mountains, and the sun, is because our ancestors committed the first sin and introducing the world to sin and suffering. We were exiled from paradise, and now we are being tested, and we must endure to save our souls. But must we endure? Should we be like Canute and fight to create our own paradise, or should we continue to seek salvation? This definition fits perfectly for the time the anime is set in, but also can be applied to today's modern age. We are still very far from grace. There is so much hate and discrimination going on in the world, and there always will be. This definition of love is honestly timeless. But must death be the only way to be free and end the endurance? Is death the only true essence of love? In episode 14 of Vinland Saga, Torgrim and Etil tells Willibald about Thors, the father of Thorfinn. They tell him how he was able to dispatch of Askeladd's men without harming or killing anyone. Willibald was shocked by this because Thor embodies what Willibald believes is love, unconditional for all, even his enemies, who try to harm him. His refusal to kill his attackers falls in line with the Christian ideals of forgiveness. This is further proven by Thor's famous line, "A true warrior doesn't need a sword."
One who's a great warrior doesn't need a sword.
Thor rejects violence and adopts a more peaceful approach, a more Christ-like approach in Willibald's eyes. Thor was able to achieve this impossible definition of love in the incredibly brutal and violent state of the world they lived in, and he was able to achieve this without having to die. He achieved this unconditional love and absolute definition of love among the living. Willibald believed Thor to be the living embodiment of love and someone everyone should strive to be. And you can see in Season 2 of Vinland Saga, Thorfinn begins to adopt this ideal of love with his famous line, "I have no enemies."
Because I have no enemies.
He has no hate in his body. He is forgiving and rejects violence, like when he'd rather be punched 100 times than beat up the royal guard who was punching him to prove he used to be Canute's escort. Thor and Thorfinn prove that this definition of love can still be achieved, not in death, but whilst living. It may be hard to show unconditional love to everyone, even your enemies, and it may be hard to expel all the hate in your heart, but it is possible. This definition of love is honestly timeless, but that is just how Vinland Saga defines the meaning of love.